What is going on, fam? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Ultrezza 3 1-month review. This is a really nice pair of football boots with a few drawbacks that I want to talk about in today's video. Let's hop into it. All right, we always start off with the Soulplate, which is a pretty unique one from the Asics brand, especially given some of the other Soulplates that they work with. I really like the way that Asics just sticks to the basics, sticks to stuff that actually works really well. And predominantly, that means conical studs in the forefoot, conical or sort of diamond shaped studs in the heel area, and then right here in the middle of sort of the ball of your feet, right where you push off, are these two triangular studs that add just that little bit of extra aggression over something like an X-Fly Pro 2 or an X-Fly 5. Now, this falls very much under the same category as those football boots, just as a sort of disclaimer: leather in the forefoot, synthetic in the midfoot, and then you've got the Soulplate. Lots of other boots in this competition that we'll talk about as well. With this torque truss in the midfoot, which is basically their shank, it's pretty springy. Like, this is definitely more springy than the DS Lite X-Fly Pro 2. It is more aggressive, in my opinion, than the X-Fly 5, but the X-Fly 5's, for whatever reason, just feels a little bit better, feels a little bit more neutral, feels a little bit more towards kind of what I'm looking for. But this is an awesome sole. I actually really enjoy wearing this pair of football boots because of the Soulplate, and I think it provides just all of the best things that you might want from a pretty neutral Soulplate that you can use on AG and FG. They've done a really nice job with the stud pattern as well. So for me, these are going to get an 8 out of 10. Now moving on to heel area, which is probably going to be the shortest segment of this particular video because this is an Asics boot, and Asics makes the best heel areas on the market. Andrew from Lockhart Boot Blog, you can go follow him on his blog, go read his stuff, it's fantastic. He would also, I think, agree with me that Asics produces the best heel areas on the market. Whatever they're doing with the shape and the padding and the suede material is absolute wizardry. It's either wizardry or, compared to everybody else, they're wizards, or maybe they're just average, I don't know. Anyway, point being is that these are fantastic. There's zero slippage in the heel. Most people that I know who wear these or any other Asics boots say it's like 99%. I've heard one person complain about their heel, and that's because they had a really massive and wide heel and ankle area. And these tend to be more on the kind of medium to narrow side, which is totally fine for wider heel types, but it just means that they have more lock-in because they sort of stretch around your foot. This guy that I'm thinking of had a really wide heel area, and that was one person out of God knows how many that I've talked to who wear an Asics boot. This is an easy one, guys. 9 out of 10 for the heel area. Now moving on to the upper. Now the upper is kind of a mixed bag for me. I really like the plushness of the upper from the forefoot. This premium K-leather feels awesome on ball. And I actually really like this motion wrap midfoot that's really thin. It provides a really excellent touch on the ball, great passing ability as well, and kind of feel for moving the ball with your feet. The problem comes at these seam points, which the X-Fly 5 and the X-Fly Pro 2 don't have that issue because the synthetic leather that they've used instead of the motion wrap basically mirrors the thickness of the leather. And so with a boot like this, it's much more on the category of the Toco 4 Pro from Umbro, the Diodoro Elite Veloce ITA something. You'll see it up on screen, and the 99-gram leather boots, where it's a little bit too much in the forefoot for how thin the midfoot is. It just creates a really comfortable fit and feel. It's just not what I'm looking for because I prefer a much more seamless sensation all around the football boot. So, given that I really like the materials in here, I just don't like that they're combined in the way they are, it's gonna get a 7 out of 10. Now moving on to lockdown, and as I mentioned, this motion wrap is actually really excellent. The midfoot is super durable, it's really thin, it's got a great internal cage to it, and it wraps your foot like crazy. That's one thing that I think this boot does particularly well compared to the other two kind of competitors within the Asics brand, the X-Fly 5, X-Fly Pro 2, is that this definitely has the best lockdown of the three of them. Yes, you have a little bit less lockdown in the forefoot area just because it is a leather, but the way that the midfoot has wrapped your foot, the motion wrap does a great job. You have the extra lace hole as well for your ability to do the runner's knot, which just totally pushes you back and onto the Soulplate, which is an excellent feature. So for me, really, the lockdown of this one gets an 8 out of 10. Break-in time for the Ultrezza 3 is a little bit tough. As we said in the previous section, the locked-in sensation that you get from the motion wrap is really, really aggressive, which is awesome. However, it does create a little bit of hotspot points for me and for those of you who are wide feet, who have wide feet kind of in this midfoot area. Not necessarily in the heel, you're gonna be fine, but in this midfoot, especially if you have a really wide midfoot and a wide toe box area, your toes are gonna feel perfectly fine straight out of the box. It's just that little bit of break-in time that happens with this motion wrap technology, which doesn't necessarily affect my thoughts on the boot, but as an individual rating, it's gonna go down a little bit just because it's not as, it takes a little bit more time to break in. Again, not necessarily a bad thing, but as a category rating, it's going to get a 6.5 out of 10. Durability and build quality for the Ultrezza 3 is really, really good. I haven't had any issues. There are scuff marks and sort of turf stains, as you can see, all over the Soulplate. I have worn these now on FG and AG. The cool thing is they do include a rivet here on the top. You don't have one on the internal side like you do on the X-Fly Pro 2 and X-Fly 5, which I don't think is gonna really make that much of a difference unless you really beat the crap out of these boots. But overall, no splitting of the Soulplate, at least as far as I can tell. The seams have been really, really nice. The stitching has done a fantastic job, per really like Asics boots in general, has done a really good job of not fraying, not doing anything weird. Lace loops and whole eye stays and stuff has been perfect. No issues there. And really overall, there's not much to complain about given how much I've worn these. And so for me, these are gonna get an 8 out of 10 for durability and build quality. Shape and fit for the Ultrezza 3 is actually really accommodating. I know I did say that the motion wrap does provide a little bit more of a locked-in sensation than maybe I would prefer from a boot straight out of the box. The X-Fly 5, for instance, basically molds to my foot straight away. Same with the X-Fly Pro 2, even though that one's not as nicely shaped as the X-Fly 5. These ones, a little bit less awkward because of how sort of, not bulbous, but sort of how high volume the toe box area is. So if you do have a high volume toe box, I would highly recommend something like this because you're still gonna get the benefit of enough wiggle room for your toes, but you're also gonna get the ability for this boot to get locked in and really wrapped. So for me, shape and fit is gonna get a 7 out of 10. All right, so the competition list is actually pretty interesting for this. I would put this under the category of some of the ones that I mentioned before, which is leather in the forefoot, synthetic in the midfoot, with a pretty neutral-ish sole plate, not like the most aggressive stuff. So as I said before, you're looking inside the Asics brand at Asics DS Lite X-Fly 5, Asics DS Lite X-Fly Pro 2. You have the Morelia Neo 4, Morelia Neo 4 Beta. You have the Umbro Toco 4 Pro. You have the Diadora Veloce ITA LPX something or other. That name needs to be changed, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I think that's about it. You could throw the 442 in there because it is a leather upper with a synthetic midfoot. That's another option. That is a budget option, and they don't even come close as far as performance to any of those other boots. I would say these fall definitely under the 2 Mizunos that I mentioned and the other 2 Asics that I mentioned. For me, it's Asics DS Lite X-Fly 5 at the top. Then you have Morelia Neo 4. Then you have X-Fly Pro 2, then you have probably Morelia Neo 4 Beta, then these, then the Diadora, then the Umbro. That's kind of like how I would structure the competition for this one. So again, if you're looking at like quality, comfort, all that stuff, the top 5, so Asics, Mizuno, Asics, Mizuno, Asics, those are my top 5. In the list, those are way above the Diadora, the 442, and the Umbro as far as like overall performance. So keep in mind, yes, they're 5th on the list. They're kind of mid-pack or kind of low mid-pack, but still an excellent pair of football boots. Performance for the Ultrezza 3 is pretty good. As I said before, I just don't prefer a boot that's got a pretty voluminous toe box and then a really kind of wrapped and thin midfoot area. So that's gonna affect the rating a little bit. As I said before, I like a couple other boots. I like 4 other boots in this category over this one. Where this falls in like the general competition area and general category from a performance standpoint, they are pretty good. They are really comfortable to wear. So I would definitely keep these in the rotation from a performance standpoint if I was, say, coaching, or if I was just knocking around with a bunch of friends, playing pickup, that kind of stuff, totally fine. I'm not gonna wear these for training or games anymore just because now that I've broken them in, they're all good and stuff. I would much rather wear other things that I mentioned in the competition section. So for me, these are gonna get a 7.5 out of 10 for performance. Overall, the Ultrezza 3 is a great option for, I think, a lot of people. And for those who are wondering, I do think this is gonna be suitable for most foot shapes, and you can also find these in a lot of locations. They're pretty readily available on websites like Tokyo Football. You're gonna find them on the Asics website if you're in Australia, New Zealand, or in Asia. You're gonna find them on websites like Ultra Football. If you're international, go to Tokyo Football. They'll have them. Definitely worth a pickup because they are a boot that fits most people and they do have quite a bit of lockdown to them. But overall, as I said, there are some aspects of the boot that I don't really like. The main one being just the performance characteristic of the difference between the two materials. So for me, overall, these are gonna get a 7 out of 10. Again, good boots, just not my favorite on the market, but really good individually, like categorized way. How do I say that in English? Individual categories are pretty strong with these. It's just a combination of some of the stuff that I just don't prefer as much as I like other boots. So that's just the way it is. If you guys like this video of the Ultrezza 3 1-month review, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Down in the description box below, you have a 20% discount code for my favorite grip socks on the market. They are WeFoot grip socks. They're excellent. I love them. I'm wearing a pair right now and I'm about to go train in them as well. So pick them up. NOAH20 is the discount code, or you can just click the link and it'll automatically apply to everything in your order. So you can get a couple different pairs and you get 20% off. How cool is that? All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. As always, be awesome. Take care. I'll see y'all in the next video.